Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going deep into the absolute unfiltered chaos of the current transfer market. If you've been following the rumors, you know things are heating up at a blistering pace. But today, we're zeroing in on one massive focal point that's literally dictating the entire market. We're going to break down exactly what's happening behind the scenes using the absolute latest verified intel and map out exactly how this crazy domino effect is going to play out.
So, here is the million-dollar, or I should probably say the multi-million euro question right now. Who is going to fill Arsenal's massive attacking void? As you'll see throughout this explainer, one club's desperate search for a single world-class left-sided attacker doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It's creating this massive ripple effect across all of Europe's top leagues. Because when a club like Arsenal moves, it knocks over dominoes in Paris, in Madrid, and all across the Premier League.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. We're starting with Arsenal's attacking talent hunt, pivoting to the Bradley Barcola battle, looking at the Julián Álvarez wildcard, checking out major midfield moves, and finishing up with done deals and extensions. And hey, for you fans of Chelsea, Liverpool, and City, don't worry, we are absolutely going to cover your massive news shortly too.
So, Section 1, Arsenal's attacking talent hunt. Let's move to and see how this builds, because, the urgency at North London right now is just palpable. The front office knows that to take that final step in their project, they absolutely need to secure a dynamic left-sided attacker. But their primary target has triggered some wild drama in the Vinny Júnior saga. Arsenal went big. They made a genuinely strong pitch to bring the superstar to the Premier League. But Real Madrid? They immediately countered with a massive new offer. And now, Vinny Júnior has agreed in principle to extend his stay in Madrid on a new 6-year contract. So right now, Arsenal's front office is essentially paralyzed. They are literally just waiting for formal confirmation from Real Madrid that the deal is 100% dead before they can fully commit their funds elsewhere.
And honestly, here is exactly why that waiting game is so incredibly dangerous. Arsenal's plan B options, they're already fading fast. They explored a move for Ilman Ndiaye, which just didn't pan out. They also looked at Junior Krupi, but Bournemouth's stance is crystal clear. He is firmly deemed not for sale this summer, regardless of player fitness or massive offers. So those backup options are dwindling rapidly, which is significantly ramping up the pressure on the Arsenal hierarchy.
Moving right along, Section 2, the Bradley Barcola battle. With Vinny Júnior essentially off the table, Arsenal has been forced to pivot, and they've walked straight into a massive, high-stakes bidding war against some very familiar rivals. Take a look at this number, 170 million euros. That is PSG's starting asking price for Bradley Barcola. It's an absolutely astronomical figure, right? And it beautifully highlights the utter absurdity of this inflated market. Now, industry sources firmly believe this is just PSG grandstanding to see who blinks first, but man, it sets a terrifying baseline for any club trying to negotiate. And who exactly is negotiating? Let's compare the two heavyweights in this fight. On one side, you've got Arsenal's position. They are desperate for that left-sided attacker, but their hands are kind of tied while they wait for that formal Vinny Júnior confirmation. On the other side, you have Liverpool's priority. They're in the market for a massive statement signing, someone who can eventually replace the sheer goal contributions of Mo Salah. Now, the really fascinating insight word here is that if both clubs somehow agreed to a fee with PSG, Barcola would actually choose Liverpool. Unless Arsenal severely overpays to force the issue, Liverpool holds the player's preference. But remember what I said earlier about dominoes? Here is how it all connects. PSG is currently formalizing a 5-year deal for Magnus Akliuch, and they've also got their eyes on Yandere Mont. This matters deeply for the English clubs. Why? Because once PSG actually gets their attackers through the door, it unlocks the Barcola negotiations, since PSG will naturally be more willing to sell. Meanwhile, Liverpool isn't just sitting around waiting. They're already eyeing Ibrahim Mbaye as a concrete alternative. And hovering in the background, you have players like Jed Spence, who is open to a move for regular first-team football, with Everton watching the fallout very closely. It's like a giant puzzle, where every single move dictates the next.
All right, Section 3, the Julián Álvarez wildcard.
If you want a story that could completely upend the transfer window as players return fresh from the World Cup, well, this is it. Look at this, 500 million euros. That is Atletico Madrid's unyielding blanket release clause for Julián Álvarez. Atletico is furious. They're incredibly frustrated by how public this whole saga has become, and they are holding a ridiculously hard line. He is simply not for sale unless this literally impossible trigger is met.
So the crucial point is how this exact tension creates this tiny window of opportunity. Here's Arsenal's path to Álvarez mapped out. Step 1. Álvarez holds talks and doubles down, insisting he wants a move to Barcelona. Step 2. A furious Atletico Madrid absolutely refuses to sell a superstar to a direct La Liga rival. And Step 3. That is exactly where Arsenal, with Andre Alberto well-positioned, swoops in as the premium Premier League alternative. Arsenal could brilliantly capitalize on the bad blood between Atletico and Barcelona to finally snatch a world-class talent and fill that attacking void.
Let's shift gears now to Section 4, major midfield and defense moves.
While the attacking market is pure chaos for Arsenal, the wider market is seeing massive defensive and midfield dominoes falling too. And there's no bigger battle right now than the El Clasico war for Rodri. On one side, Barcelona are surprisingly the frontrunners, driven by what sources are calling a family decision for Rodri to return to Spain. On the other side, Real Madrid is armed with a direct mandate from heavy-hitting figures like Jose Mourinho and Florentino Perez to start negotiations, yet they're currently falling behind. Just to impartially report the facts here, Manchester City's new manager, Enzo Maresca, absolutely wants to double down and keep him, but the player's desire to leave is driving this massive tug of war.
Now, if City does sell, the baseline is set at £52 million. How do we know this? Because that's the valuation placed on a player with 1 year left on his contract, like Van Hecke. But let's be real, Man City's going to demand significantly more than $52 million for Rodri. We're talking about a Ballon d'Or winner, a World Cup winner, and literally the best player at the last World Cup. The final fee here is going to be absolutely astronomical.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark difference in clubs' strategies across the league right now. While Arsenal is playing a really dangerous waiting game for attackers, Chelsea is executing a dizzying, aggressive overhaul. Check this out. They're in advanced talks for Lille's Ayyoub Bouaddi for around 80 to 100 million euros. They have a verbal agreement nearing 90 million plus for a player known as Pete, a signing entirely driven by Xabi Alonso. On the outgoings, Axel Disasi has serious substance behind his move to Crystal Palace. And Mykhailo Mudryk, he's entirely focused on proving his match sharpness in the preseason tour, though loans to Strasbourg or Coventry remain very much on the table.
Meanwhile, over in North London, Tottenham is dealing with a very different reality. One insider source literally described Tottenham's current attempt to negotiate with Liverpool for Cody Gakpo as a, quote, fool's errand. Why? Well, because in this heavily inflated market, Liverpool absolutely will not sell him unless they secure 2 attack-minded replacements first. Until that happens, Spurs are basically just wasting their breath.
And speaking of Spurs, they are fully locked into the Man City carousel right now. City is actively hunting Chelsea's Pedro Neto, a player Enzo Maresca had previously. But simultaneously, City is trying to fend off Tottenham, who are highly confident they can agree on a fee for City's Crivigno. But again, the domino rule applies here. City won't sanction that sale until they have a solid replacement finalized.
All right, wrapping things up with Section 5, done deals and extensions.
Away from all the wild rumors, the concrete deals are finally crossing the line. Yandre Mendes' €12.5 million move to Real Madrid is completely sealed, plus $15 million in add-ons. Domestically, Leeds secured James Trafford for £40 million, while Lyndon Dykes has penned a 1-year deal with Millwall. But honestly, the real steal of the window might be Bournemouth's fantastic business under manager Marco Rose. Securing Juan Luis Sanchez for just €11 million plus add-ons for a player with over 100 games of experience and Champions League pedigree, that is phenomenal business for a club heading into European football.
And you know, it's not just about who is arriving, it's about who is staying put, which makes the remaining talent pool for clubs like Arsenal even smaller. Mickey van de Ven is having very positive talks and is getting closer to extending with Tottenham, despite heavy interest from the likes of Liverpool and Barcelona. João Pedro has agreed to fresh terms with Chelsea and was deemed entirely not for sale, even for a world record price when Barca inquired. And Harry Kane is expected to sign a brand new deal at Bayern Munich, effectively shutting down early inquiries from Al Hilal and others.
So we've covered the staggering bids, the behind-the-scenes family decisions, and the frantic search by Arsenal to fix their attacking void. With all these massive dominoes falling, from Paris to Madrid to North London, which club will ultimately win this transfer window? Synthesize everything we just covered in this explainer, drop your thoughts down in the comments, and let's debate the outcome. Thanks so much for diving into this with me, and keep your eyes on the market. It is only getting hotter.